Hey everybody, it's Allie Edwards, and I am back with another look at how I ended up with all of my mixed media trees for this year. This is part 2 of a 2-part series showing how I put together these mixed media trees, which includes a combination of things like paint, embellishments, stencils, silk screens, washi tape, other little embellishments, handwriting, all kinds of different things. So where I'm at right now in this particular process, I do finish this up with this particular video, and you'll see some of the finished ones at the end, and I am ending up hanging these trees on my tree, so you can see more about that in the blog post. So what you're going to see here in the beginning part of the video is just me working through covering up more of these trees. Towards the end of the video, one of the things you'll see is me going back into my trees and adding or using paint pens to add patterns to the back of these trees. I wasn't sure in the very beginning how I was going to use them, if I was going to put them on do a garland or a banner with them. I end up putting them on the tree, and then next year I can have them strung on a garland, and you'll see a little bit of working through that as well. So the first thing I'm doing here is I am covering one of these trees. These were a die set of white cardstock trees that we had available at the beginning of our December daily season. I'm using these for all of my mixed media trees, and then I'm also using a smaller die, a tree die, to create some additional trees that you'll see later on as well. So here's the point in the process where I'm kind of just seeing, what does this look like if I string these on here? And I've got some red and white twine there and a bunch of the trees that I had already finished earlier in the season. So I just was kind of hanging them on there, seeing how I felt about that. What did I think of those? I'm using that hole punch there to punch additional holes, just kind of giving myself a sense of is this the direction that I'm heading? Where am I going? I wanted to see what they looked like. And it made me very happy to put some of those on there. I just thought it was fun and cute, and it definitely motivated me to get the rest of these trees done. I ended up with probably, I think, about 60 trees, 55 or 60. There was 50 in the pack, but I cut up a few using some past craft paper and some other things as well. So that ended up getting me over the number 50 threshold. I think I ended up doing 50 ornaments last year, and so this year we're doing the tree shape. So once I played around a little bit with that idea of the garland or the banner, now I'm back into trying to finish up these trees, and they've been sitting on my table for a while. So I've walked by them a number of times, thought about what did I want to add on top? Did I want to do more stencils? And really, there's not a right or a wrong answer with these. One of the ways that I like looking at these trees is an opportunity to use up some of the past products. So even when I've painted, I might have painted the background tree or put, the topping on there, something I was thinking of food, texture on there, something like that. I am also looking then in my stash and looking for embellishments that I might want to add on there. So some of my trees have embellishments on them. Some of them just have paint. Some of them I run through the sewing machine. Some of them I add chipboard to. It's just kind of a wide variety of things, really with the goal just of finishing these trees, right? Getting them done. Definitely for me in this particular process, I felt like I did go back and forth a bunch of what do I actually want to hang on these? And I think I was trying to make them too perfect at a certain point, and found myself wandering around my office a bunch, which was good because then I just dove into some of the things that I have in my stash, and that was also fun. So here's a tree that I'm cutting out. This is using a past 3x4 card that I just had in my December daily stash of stuff. I'll add a couple other little things on here. But this is a great reminder that you don't even have to do the paint and the mixed media part. You can just play around with pattern papers that you might have in your stash, or other papers that you have been wanting to use, or, just lots of it. You could do it with junk mail. There's a million different ways that you could make these trees to come together. So as I'm doing second layers on a lot of these, I've pulled out this stamp that I've probably had for 20 years now, this little dotted stamp. We do, on one of the stamp sets we offered this year, there's some patterns, and you'll see I use those later on for some stamping as well. I'm also going to add on some texture paste or some of this glimmer paste here, using some of the stencils that I have in my stash. I didn't do a ton more of this. Like, I feel like I did more of this kind of thing or embossing with the first round of trees that I did. But in this case, I just went ahead and I did a couple of these just using that green. This again is from the Crafter's Workshop, the stencil butter, that's what it's called. And it's got a nice little sheen to it. So doing a couple of these, setting them to the side, letting them dry. You can see that I'm just kind of mixing and matching, right? I'm doing a variety of different things, from just hand drying on trees. This is where you're going to see me using those Posca paint pens to draw some patterns on the front. This is also what I'm going to be doing on the back of the trees, and you'll see a little bit of that later on. So just essentially, how can I cover up these trees? What can I do? How can I draw patterns? How can I add embellishments? How can I, sometimes things are being stapled on top. Sometimes things are being stitched on top. Sometimes I'm hand stitching things. There's just a wide variety. Rub-ons, that's something else that's gone on there. I did a lot of dots on these too. The paint pens are so great for doing the dots. You can see here, this one actually has like some red textured red circles on there. So I was doing dots inside of those circles. Then I'm going to write believe on this one. This is one where I could have done embossing using embossing pen. I did that for another one of the trees I did in that first round. But even just using the tree to hold the word believe, that worked great. Let's see what I'm going to do. I'm going to make some plus sign patterns on these ones. So again, I'm getting like a second layer potentially before I add an embellishment layer on top. And again, there's not a hard and fast rule for this. All right, so I think what I'm going to do for a little bit of time here as you watch me work through the trees, I'm just going to play a little bit of Christmas music, and then I'll pop back on here with a couple of other thoughts towards the end. All right, then here's a look at all of the trees that I finished today in this little video. So these are the newer ones in addition to the ones that I did for the first video earlier this season. So just laying them all out. I can honestly tell you 100% that one of the most fun things is to look at them all together after they're all finished and to touch them, to feel the texture, to feel the stitching. It's so fun, and I feel the same sort of satisfaction as I did when I finished those ornaments last year. I just love the colors, love the shape, love the texture and all that good stuff. Now so I took these downstairs and I considered hanging them on a banner like I talked about, and then I decided I did want to hang them on the trees. And so in order to hang them on the tree, I wanted to have something on the backs of them, so it wasn't just the blank backs. And the quickest way that I decided to do this, or the way that felt most authentic to how I wanted to work this time, was to just use my Posca paint pens and create patterns on the back. So you can see that some of the backs already have paint splotches on them or ink splotches from when I was doing the other sides of them. I pretty much used 5 different Posca paint pens. You'll see me using the red. I'm using a light green, a dark green, a kind of like a teal that's a little bit of a blue-green teal, and then also a hot pink that I added in just a couple of places. But mainly doing stripes, dots. I did some plus signs. I also did some just round circles, and I did some where I was kind of just making like curly Q pattern. So I needed to do this on all of the trees. So, 50 some, whatever. I can't remember if I show 2 versions of that on here, if it's just the working through the one. But you can also stamp on the back. I did that with some of those pattern stamps, the star pattern stamp, the dot pattern stamp. There you go. I even did one with the bows. And it doesn't really matter if they're perfect on here. Again, I'm just trying to get some little bit of pattern on these. But you could fully decorate both sides if you wanted to. That would obviously be a whole other option that you could do. This for me seemed like the best way to wrap up this project, which is what I needed to do so that I could move on to work on some of the other things. But I thought this is a really fun way to do it. Lots and lots of options. So you can watch me as I add on these dots and stripes. All right, and we are getting close to the end here. I would direct you over to my blog if you would like to see what these look like in my tree, as well as the other images that I took of them as a banner or garland, which I may end up doing that next year. I did like just a practice hang up on our mantle, and I thought they looked really cute, but then I'm happy to have them on my tree this year, and then next year I will string them on a garland and use them somewhere else around the house. So I hope you guys have fun with these. Use this as a jumping off point to not take things so seriously. I think that that's a really fun way to do it. You could obviously just do ones that had the Posca paint pens too, right? You could just skip the whole idea of having the painting and the other things, but I do think that this is such a fun way to use up some of your stash. But I also just love those basic little patterns. They look so fun, and it's a great way to use your stamps and other supplies that you might have around the house. All right, I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season. If you'd like to see how I did this last year, you can check out my mixed media ornaments, and we'll see you back here again soon.